Hey everybody, we are Eric, Tom, and Tyler with North Star Pro Realty. Today we're going to talk about red flags that we see during showings, during inspections, and we're going to talk about how we prepare buyers and sellers for those conversations. So let's actually start out with the second part first, because that's the easiest way to always do it.
It's a natural progression.
Natural progression. So question for you guys then is we'll start it out that way, whoever wants to jump in, but how do you prepare buyers and sellers as we are not even necessarily getting ready for an inspection, but even just for showings and everything?
Yeah. Well, I think that was the nod to me, from Tommy. I'm gonna go back to walking through on a listing appointment and how I prepare them. So a lot of people ask, how do we prepare our house for sale? We have a checklist. We've got actually a great guide that you can actually download if you just shoot us a message. But I actually have that conversation, and I tell them, here's the things that you might want to think about. I'm going to go down, do a walkthrough. I'm actually going to open up the electrical panel. I'm going to make sure that there is a state sticker. Actually, one of the examples is I went to go turn a light on, and it was way higher than it should be. And I asked, did you finish this basement yourself? Yeah. Did you pull a permit? No. I said, how did you know? I said, well, the electrical's wrong. It's in the wrong spot. It can be a maximum. I said, it's something you have to disclose, so it's not a big deal. So we're gonna look through there, properly disclose everything, and then if the buyers make a big deal about it, they can negotiate it. Just be prepared for this. We're not looking for a honey-do list. We're looking for safety issues, hazardous issues, or potential appraisal issues, or something that wasn't readily apparent on a walkthrough. Like, for example, if we peek our head up in the attic and there's no insulation, that's something we're going to have to deal with during an inspection. So those are the types of things that I prep a seller. I actually prep a buyer's agent with that same speech as well when I'm representing the seller and somebody brings a buyer.
So you did have the seller disclose things ahead of time. So these are, when we're going into an inspection, frequently what we're looking for are things that may not have been previously known walking through the house. And so that would include things like what you had mentioned. During a normal showing, you're not putting your head up into the attic to see what's going on up there. But you may see, what was your example? Oh, you talked about a driveway earlier as we were preparing for this?
Yeah. So you don't just need to prepare your sellers. Apparently you need to prepare the other agents as well, because we had these guys came back after inspection and they're like, hey, this driveway has cracks in it and we're going to ask you to lower the purchase price $10,000 or something like that. And I was like, absolutely not. That was the first thing you saw on your showing. That's not new information, that was gathered from the inspection. So
Right. And so those are the kinds of things that you might look at, and items in the disclosures. So there's seller disclosures. The seller fills them out to the best of their knowledge of things that they know about the house. And so as you're going through an inspection, if you find something, now there's no rule against this, but if you find something that was disclosed from the seller and you look at it, you go, well, this might not be something negotiable because it was already made known to us. That was part of our original offer.
Right. And if you got a competent agent on the other side, you should see that coming, that's going to be an argument.
Yeah. So anyway, so there are things that we do to prepare the buyers and prepare the sellers, and Tyler already kind of shared a lot of what he had talked about. So I kind of want to move on to the second part. Did you guys have anything to add about that?
One more thing just with that I always say something similar to buyers going into seeing the inspection, and that's preparing them like, hey, especially first-time home buyers, you can kind of see as the inspectors walking through, page by page of everything that's wrong with the house. You can see their eyes just slowly get bigger and bigger as they're seeing everything wrong with the house one after another. And so I always prepare them just saying, hey, look, brand new houses aren't perfect. There's going to be a list of things that you're going to see in this inspection. And with, these buyers, I say, we're just looking for some of the big ticket items. There's going to be a lot of little things, just
health and safety issues.
Right, exactly. And I mean, we even had a new construction house that was just finished that we did a walkthrough, and we're pointing out one thing after another of like, hey, this should be done, this wasn't done. And so having that conversation with them beforehand, just to give them an idea of like, hey, this might be a little overwhelming, but just bear with me. We'll get through it. We'll talk through it afterwards. So,
well, I think what's also important to note with what you had just said there is that with an inspection, when you're paying an inspector and they're going through the house, they're not always just looking for everything wrong. They're just, I thought an inspector said it really well once when he said, this is an introduction to the house. And so what they're doing is they have a whole list of everything that they're going through. And so it's going to be, they'll have the appliances, they're going to have the roof, they're going to have the foundation. Like they're going to have a list of every single thing they're going to look at. And appliances, they might look at the washer. It's included on this report that's an inch thick, and it says washer, good, operating condition, or whatever it is that they're looking for. So it's good to take note that, yeah, you might receive this giant report full of information, but not everything in that is bad information.
Right.
Yeah. Everything looks worse in writing than it does in person, too. So I think it's definitely taking a look at it and actually attending that walkthrough with your inspector during that. But let's kind of rewind, which kind of prompted it was the red flags. You know, we all show homes a little bit differently. Certainly, you know, when we're going through, one of my favorite things is when I'm working with a brand new buyer, first time home buyer, they've never really looked at a home in a manner of, well, I might be buying this. I said, would you like me to point things out that is likely to come up on an inspection? So you go and see how it feels. And I'm going to be probably digging around in the utility room, stuff like that, grab a flashlight and checking for some things. And I like to show them and educate them a little bit, saying, hey, see this little watermark or this little mark on this sheetrock here? That was water at some point, you know, so it's wicking up there. So it's a chance to educate them. And that's when we take a look at it and on what red flags are we looking for? Yeah. So let's kind of transition into that of what are those things that you like to point out or not that we like to discover these things, but makes us feel good when we get to point something out and educate somebody about a house.
I'll bring something up right now, like before we actually step into the house. This was something that recently came up with a buyer of mine. He sent me a house that's been on the market for 6 months or something like that. It's listed way below, average home prices in the area, and he's like, hey, this is cheap, let's go see it, and there's like 4 pictures, and I just was like, all right, I need to prepare you for this. There's something wrong with this house. I don't know what it is because they're not showing it to us, and it's being sold as is, and I was like, I don't know what it is, but it's likely a big ticket item. I just want to prepare you for it before we step in this house, because you might walk in and be like, oh, okay, I get it now, and then walk out, whether it's foundation problems or water damage and mold and stuff like that. So just before we even step into the house, that's a red flag for me, just seeing it online.
Oh, I thought you had a specific example.
No, that was a specific example. It was mold. It was a lot of mold.
Okay, that's what I was waiting for. That's the part I was waiting for. Yeah, I was like, what was it?
When you have to sign a waiver before you could even walk through.
There's your first red flag.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
No, it was mold. There was some significant water damage.
Yep. Well, one of my favorite ones that it's not actually that serious, but it's just kind of a funny one of like, oh, yep, that was kind of what we expected. And we actually said it right before we started was, I like to look for like floor rugs that are in really weird areas, because then you pull them up and there's almost always some sort of flooring damage, whether it's a hardwood floor, whether it's carpet. Like I remember one house specifically had like it was like a size of a welcome mat, just a rug like what you'd put in front of a sink, and it was sitting on a transition between the carpet and the hard floor. And we pulled it up and I said, well, this isn't a weird spot. Pulled it up and like a foot of carpet was missing. And I was like, well, there it is. So those
buyers will never understand.
One of those red flags that you look for and just kind of go, why is this carpet here? Why is this rug here?
That's funny.
One that I like to do is if you're around your house or looking at it or an apartment right now, is one, you can kind of get a feel on how somebody maintained a house by looking in the tracks of windows. And here's a pro tip for you. Is the registers in the floor, those are liftable. Like they're not usually mechanically fastened. I lift those up, and sometimes there's dog hair, there's Cheerios, there's Matchbox cars. How you get a Matchbox car?
Did you do this in my house?
Which time?
Yeah. Those things.
So I mean, and I kind of point and said, if this house is right for you, the smell that we're smelling right now is because there was animals living here. And sometimes they were actual animals and sometimes they were people, just living so dirty. But what you probably want to do is replace all the carpet, and then most importantly, probably get those vents cleaned as well, because look how much of this stuff is actually going down there. So just kind of educating a little bit about that. Of not a lot of people are looking inside those vents
Yeah.
during a showing.
Yeah. One is if you go downstairs and you see 2 box fans and 2 dehumidifiers going and it still smells a little musty. That's something where I'm like, ooh, they're working hard at trying to keep the humidity down a little bit. The other one was if you go downstairs and you see all of their personal property like lining all of the walls so you can't see any of the walls, that I'm just kind of like, man, are they trying to hide these foundation walls? Like, we want to see these, it's especially the block walls and stuff. So I don't know. That's something that's
Or a basement that has everything on bricks.
On pallets. Yeah, we've seen that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of on that note. Another one. It's not even people trying to hide something. It's just something good to look for is to go and check the sump pump, especially if you're in the middle of summer in Minnesota. You've got a dry stretch of 10 days, and and there's still water dripping in. You can kind of look at it and go, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, there's nothing wrong right now, but this is just something to note. It hasn't rained in 10 days, and there's still water coming into this foundation. Like, it just points to we're in a wet area, or maybe there's negative drainage towards the house, something like that. So just looking at things that aren't necessarily wrong, but
on the same note, going and looking at a house after we had 4 inches of rain and you go downstairs and it's totally dry, it's like, wow, okay, well, you probably don't have anything to worry about.
Right.
Not a red flag, but a green flag.
Yeah, and it's all, again, we've seen a lot. I don't like to be surprised ever. I don't want to challenge ourselves to see something there, but we point some of these things out, and it's never meant to guide you one way or another. It's really just that educational piece of what should you be looking for. Roof, that's a big deal right now as well. Are they the old 3 tabs? Insurance wise, it's going to be kind of a battle to maybe get that thing insured with a mortgage. But, red flag is the roof more than 15 years old, 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that don't usually make it on to the listing. As far as when people are looking, they're looking at their budget and then bedrooms and bathrooms and then the city.
Yeah.
Go from there.
One last one before we cut it off is a game that we play is when you walk in and it's just overwhelming with air fresheners and you're just trying to smell like beyond those.
What's that
What
smell?
is it? Because we know they're covering up some smell on it, whether it's cigarette smoke or cat
fruit.
or dog. It's like, yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good topic. Again, how do we deal with inspections? How do we prep buyers and sellers and agents? And then some of the red flags to look for next time you are touring a home. If you want to get that list of how to prep your home and that checklist, just go ahead and shoot us a message, and it can be an instant download.
Cool.
For North Star Pro Realty, I'm Tyler.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Tom.
Eric with a K.